families this week showed up. This week I haven't seen here. One lady, I've never seen her before. Actually, there was 3. One of them was here a couple of years ago and came on Friday. It was Thursday, wasn't it? Our big day. And you know, the other thing, and I say this it's kind of to encourage you guys, but we've got 4 of our children from here doing ministry in 4 different churches in Jerome, just in Jerome, not counting here. That's 5. If you include us, that's 5. And the reason is we train, we not only focus on children's ministry, but we train to do children's ministry. I haven't convinced the Nepali that that's what they should do. I mean, the refugee churches coming in, the cross-cultural churches, they think that the adults are the most important. And that just isn't true. You know, the adults aren't the growing edge. We're not the growing edge of ministry. I'm sorry. But their kids are. But like I said, even Finney had children's ministry going on. He didn't keep the kids in. I know that churches do that. They think that children learn to sit and listen. They learn to sit all right. I don't know about the listening part. But if you go back there, and I know kids, we have people back there, and every once in a while, Diane actually gets a break from doing that, and she's had a few years where we had trained up people. Like Hannah took over. Hannah ran the children's ministry for 3 or 4 years, and then Nancy did it. Nancy's still doing it. She just, it was after 9 last night, and I said, Nancy, I'm going home. Oh yeah, Hannah is still doing it up in Nampa, or in the church where she is. So she's still doing it. But we have a young lady, Mari, and some of you don't know because she was part of this ministry so long ago that some of you have never met her. But she's on break right now. The Catholic priest told me she's not. She just had a baby a month or so ago, and so she's not doing children's ministry, but she's paid staff at the Catholic Church. She grew up, her mom grew up in our church, our ministry, and when the kids started growing, they went down to the Free Will Baptist, but I still had contact and I'd visit them regularly, and she still calls me Papa. She sees me in the Walmart or something. And so she's active over there. Bob has kids active in 2 churches, and then we have Nancy doing here. Now Nancy she was doing the children's ministry on Saturday night. Well, I moved her there because she's just a perfect fit. Not that she doesn't fit in our children's ministry, she does, but she actually does a lot of children's ministry still with us, just not on Sunday. Well, actually she does on Sunday, because she's been working on camp, so I haven't been teaching at all on Sunday night because Nancy wanted the time to work on the camp team, which she's doing, and it's going really well, and they're doing well. So that's how we grow. And we grow not just a church, but a community. And we will keep training and keep teaching and keep changing the community itself. I know, we're training people from even other Christian schools, you know. Everybody feels the need for that, but like Diane goes twice a week over to Twin to teach children from other schools because they're not successful. Well, we've gotten several kids from public school, but we've also got children from other Christian schools that we're teaching on the side because they don't know how. Those kids may have special issues or something, and they don't have the staff that can do that. We do have the staff that can do that. I have 3 master's teachers here, but besides Gene. I don't know what we call Gene. Are you a master teacher? He's a master, but so it's exciting to me. We are starting chapter 2, John chapter 2, verse 1. And I'm doing the first 12 verses. We're going to talk about the first miracle, which is what? What's the first miracle? Yeah. What occasion was that? At a wedding. That's right, at a wedding. So, Toby, stand up and read the whole thing, all 12 verses.
Yes, sir. On the 3rd day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Now both Jesus and his disciples invited to the wedding. And when they ran out of wine, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." Jesus said to her, "Woman, what does your concern have to do with me? My hour has not come." His mother said to the servants, "Whatever he says to you, do it." Now there were there 6 water pots of stone, according to the manner of purification of the Jews, containing 20 or 30 gallons apiece. Jesus said to them, "Fill the water pots with water." And they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, "Draw out some now, and take it to the master of the feast." And they took it. When the master of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, he did not know where it came from, but the servants who had drawn the water knew. The master of the feast called the bridegroom, and he said to him, "Every man at the beginning sets up the good wine. When the guests have well drunk from the inferior, but you have kept the good wine until now." This beginning of the signs of Jesus in Cana of Galilee, and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed him. After this, he went into Capernaum. He, his mother, his brothers, his disciples, and they did not stay there many days.
Father, we just thank you for your word, and I just pray that this would speak to us in your word, in Jesus' name. Okay, I was, reading through this, but and I realized, realized everybody knows this story, and that so I was just praying about it and thinking through. It's the very first miracle, and it comes right following actually, if you look at the other 4 Gospels, it comes right after the temptation of Jesus, which John doesn't have the temptation of Jesus, so we can talk about that, not today, but another day. But it follows after the first set of disciples are called, and Jesus goes out into the wilderness and is tempted by Satan, and he comes back, and there's a cleansing of the temple at that time, and he has it after this miracle. So this miracle must have taken place between the temptation and the cleansing of the temple. Now Canaan is a little northwest of Nazareth on the way to Tyre and into Lebanon. So it's way up north, and they leave Canaan after they are here at Canaan. Now it gets to where if you remember back in Joshua's day, they didn't clean out the Canaanite villages on the north, and so the northern tribes intermixed with the people, the Canaanites. This is a leftover from that, the city of Canaan, because the Canaanites were not completely cleaned out on the north side of Israel. Now, and it's very interesting to me that Jesus, all his early ministry is done in that area, in Nazareth and around the Sea of Galilee, Capernaum, which are all on the north side of Israel. And when we talk about, we're looking at the news and all of this Palestinians, and the protests out of the big universities, it goes to show, and talking to you parents, what is the value of big university education? You need to really look at that and think about it, because there is no Palestine. There are no Palestinians. Never have been and aren't going to be, okay? Where does that word come from? It comes from the Romans. The biggest enemy of King David and Solomon were the Philistines, okay? And so when Rome destroyed Jerusalem and cleaned out that area, they kept calling them Philistinians, okay? And over time that has kind of changed to be Palestinians. But the Philistines are probably genetically mixed in with whatever is there of the people that were there. Not that the Jews from Europe, but the Jews that were still there, and whatever is left of the Philistines is in the Coptic Christians and the Bedouins and that lived in the hill country and did shepherds. The lowlands in Israel were not occupied before the Jews came back, because they were swamps, okay? And that's true both on both sides of the Mount Carmel, where it struts across, comes out to the sea. The mountain comes out to the sea. You have the two breaks in Mount Carmel, which is Megiddo and the other little village. Megiddo is the wider one. That's why it's the most well-known, because I can't remember the other one. And Har is mountain, so it's Har Megiddo, or Armageddon is the mount of Megiddo, which is Mount Carmel, okay? If you get all that straight. I know you remember that. But the reason why Megiddo is the battle place is because that's where marching armies can get through from along the climbing up and down the hills of Galilee is not easy. If you go across the Jordan River, and the hills are even higher and more difficult, and if you go past the hills, you got just a little bit of foothills there, and then you have, like here, you have fields of basalt, lava. And men in sandals and horses aren't without steel, are not going to be marching through there. So the two places are the King's Highway, which is on the foothills of the Jordan foothills on the east side. That's the King's Highway, and then on the west side is the Sea of Galilee, Mediterranean Sea, and there's one obstruction there, and that is Mount Carmel. And it's broken there in two places, like I said. It's broken at Megiddo, and that's why all battles end up at Megiddo, okay? on both sides, on the north side and on the south side. And you realize that between the seas, the oceans there, and the basalt plains and the deserts and the hot and dry deserts, Israel forms a bridge, a natural bridge between three continents. Not three countries, three continents. Europe, Asia, and Africa, you know. And there's one land bridge between those three continents, and it is Israel. And that's for people that want to be left alone, that's not the best, that's not the most lonely place on the planet, okay? Because kings going up and down from the north, from the south, from the east, everything goes north-south, by the way. When it says our enemies from the north or from the south, you have to understand the land bridge goes north and south, okay? And so all people are going north and south. The king could be way over here, way over there, but he has to come to the top and go down, okay? And same on the south. Could be from Egypt or Ethiopia or anywhere, but they still have to come the same. There's two roads, the King's Highway, and then there's the beach. But during modern times, that road along the Mediterranean Sea, that area was all swamps and snakes and mosquitoes and malaria, okay? And when the Jews came there, they didn't take it from anybody except snakes and mosquitoes, okay? They dried it out. They put drainage ditches in. They built farms, because it was perfect place for growing tropical plants and fruits and things like that. And that was true also in Gaza. They did the same thing down there. They made it very fruitful. Now, when the Jews left there, and they cleaned it out of all Jews so that the Gaza people could be on their own, be totally independent, which they were. I could see his face, but the prime minister that cleared that out. He just died not too long ago, but Israel moved all the Jews out of Gaza, 100%. It's 100% free of Jews. So why didn't it prosper and boom and continue to grow? It's because it was run by thieves, by organized crime. Gaza, the Hamas is organized crime. It's just like Gaza was the most prosperous place on the planet for getting foreign aid. They got billions of dollars of foreign aid a year. For the size of Gaza, there was no place on the planet that got more foreign aid than Gaza. So what did they do with the foreign aid? They spent it all building tunnels and rockets. Okay, spend it all. Well, not all of it, because the leaders of Hamas have, like our leaders do, some of them, have these big palaces in Dubai and UAE and other places. They don't live in Gaza, in fact. Not the head. The six top people of Hamas live in, like I said, Dubai and anyway, in several places that are run by Arabs. Now, Hamas is Arabic. They're all Arabic. Like I said, there were people there, but only a couple 100,000 people that were native to the land. Okay, when they moved into the land in the 19th century, World War I, in between there, the land, the people, the Gazan people who were Bedouins, Christian, Orthodox Christians, and um, they moved in, and because of the wealth that Israel brought in, okay, the people started coming in to work in the fields and in the orchards and in the vineyards. And slowly they took over and took control of Gaza, and they fought, and there were like 3 different terrorist groups in Gaza, and they fought over it, and the Hamas won the battles between the other groups, and they took charge. Now, the other group is in charge of the West Bank, or at least the parts. There's A, B, and C. C is 100% owned by Arabs. B, it's a mixture, and A is Israeli controlled, okay? So when they talk about the West, that area, they talk about A, B, and C, and that's what that is. C means it's completely controlled by Fatah, not by Hamas, but by Fatah. They lost the battle with Hamas in Gaza, and they drove them out. And so they're all on the West Bank, and Hamas is in Gaza. Now, and so there's no guarantee that if you get everything together, they say, well, there's going to be one country. But what happens when you try to put those 2 groups back together again? You're going to have more fighting, okay, within them, their ranks. They're not Palestinians, they're Arabs. And in fact, they even say that. If you listen to them enough and you get to listen to their debates, they'll admit that they're Arabs. Now, why am I going into all that? Because understanding a little background on to the text here. But, you know, if all of those big universities that are filling the young people's heads with stuff that has no historical basis in reality, okay? Because there is no such thing as a Palestinian. It's an older term used by the Romans for Philistine, okay? And there are no Philistines, okay? They're intermixed with the Bedouins and the Christian Orthodox, okay? And a lot of those villages, even on the West Bank, because I even have pictures in one of those old picture slides, 3D slide things. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's really old. It came out of Diane's place and in Pennsylvania, but it has pictures from Israel back in the early 19th century, middle 19th century. And so it's fun I like looking at it, but there's no people in it. I mean, it's just, you got sheep, a few shepherds here and there. You got little villages, and tents sometimes around them. And when you look at that place, before the Jews came in there, there were very few people, especially in Gaza. There's very few people. Maybe 200,000 or 300,000 in the whole land of Gaza. And like I said, there were Bedouins and there were Orthodox Christians and a few Muslims, but there were shepherds, and they pretty much, got along together. But as the Muslims grew, they drove the people out of their villages. And even on the West Bank, there wasn't a lot of this kind of activity. And the people in the West Bank, which is Judah, in the old land of Judah, were driven out at the turn of the 19th century and the 20th century. They were driven out of their villages, out of their farms, away from their orchards and stuff like that. So that land keeps going back and forth between different people groups, depending on who's in control of it. Are the British in control, or the Ottoman, the Turks are in control of it. the people there in Gaza have never been in control of the land. Okay, it's always either been Turkey or Egypt or Great Britain, and that goes back to the Roman wars right after the time of Jesus, which is what, 69 A.D. So. And I hope you know all that. If you didn't know it, you know it today. Palestine and Palestinian is a media political term that it's just made up. And the people in the big universities pushing that are pushing a narrative that doesn't exist in history, okay? Okay, so we're looking at that. So this is the third day, and there was a wedding in Canaan. That's how we got started on that, the word Canaan, of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. It's a very interesting point that he puts there. Now, who is the one the most interested in Mary? Which gospel? John. Only one. No, not John. Luke. Luke has the Magnificat, has all of Mary's story in it. And it's the only one with that. Now, but you're right, John takes an interest in Mary, and he's got a lot about the women as disciples. I mean, the women are everywhere in the book of John. And all of the women, not just Mary, the mother of Jesus, but also Mary Magdalene. Now, so mother of Jesus was there, and both Jesus and his disciples were invited to the wedding. Now with Mary was who? Her sons. Her family was with her. So this is a wedding north of Nazareth, and so Jesus' family, his mother and his brothers went up there. And it says, when the wine ran out, the mother of Jesus said to him, they have no wine. And Jesus said to her, woman, what does that have to do with us? Our hour has not yet come. My hour has not yet come. Now, some of the translations I don't like. The King James is a little rough on Mary. You really can't get that from the Hebrew. The name for woman here, because in English, depending on how you say the word woman, it can be negative or positive. And that really doesn't apply to the Greek, okay? You don't get that from the Greek. So, and it, when the wine was lacking, the mother of Jesus is saying to him, and again, that uses, I've told you, he's already used that word two. This word two doesn't mean two. It's the same word that he says in 1 John 1, the Logos was with the Father, or to the Father, okay? That shows the relationship. They're together, and so she is talking to him, and she says to Jesus, they do not have wine, and because they're already talking together. So they're facing one another, and she's saying to him, it's a present tense. She is saying to him, they don't have any wine, and so in the image you get from the movies and everything, she finds him and she says to him, to him, they've run out. But that's not the picture I get from reading the Greek. In the Greek, they're just talking. They're standing, and she just happens to mention to him. She's talking, and the word here is towards, pros, towards him, or facing him, and she's saying to him, they've run out of wine. Now, his response is, and Jesus is saying, because they're talking present tense, he is saying to her, to me, what is it to me and to you? What is this to me and to you? He's drawing her in closer. He's actually saying, what is this? And New American Standard has, what does this have to do with us, Mom? That's exactly how I'd put it. What does this have to do with us? And then he continues, my hour has not come yet. My hour has not yet come. Okay, what does this have to do with us? She knows that he has to present himself. She knows that's what he's doing. She knows he's calling disciples to him. And so she puts it in front of him, you know, they've run out of wine. And because this mom believes in this son. She's a follower. She's a follower from day one, you know, because it says she kept all of these things in her mind. That's why she tells it to Luke later. I don't know how she got in touch with Luke. There's a lot of different ways, but she ends up in the Luke, whoever Luke is running with, whether it's Peter at that time or whether it's Paul later, but because Luke is with Paul at that time. And no one really knows the stuff that Mary knows except her. And a lot of that is interesting, you know, to those people who are still wondering whether this is myth or whether it's actually story, whether it's a historical account, a narrative. You know, these kinds of things to me stand out as a narrative. They don't stand out like stories. They're not myth stories. What to me and to you, woman, he says, gunai, which can be lady, because my hour has not yet arrived. Now, I've actually thought, well, he's saying it's not time for me to do miracles. Okay, that's not what he's saying. That's a specific reference to one event. My hour has not yet arrived. It is talking about one event. What is that event? What's his hour? Yeah, his death, the cross, and the resurrection. That's what he's referring to. And that's what he's referring to here. It always means that throughout John, okay? So she's talking about wine. He's talking about something deeper than that. He's saying, my hour is not yet. And he goes ahead. And she doesn't take, which is very interesting, because she doesn't take it as a put-off. Because she turns to the waiters and that, and she says, listen, do whatever he asks you to do, because she knows he's going to do it. She already knows that. And so when I get, you know, when you get that idea from a lot of the interpretation of this, is that he shuts her down. He does not. What he says to her is approval, and she goes ahead and takes it that way, and she turns to the servants and said, follow him. He's going to tell you what to do. Okay? And he does. He does exactly what she expects him to do. So his mother said to the servants, whatever he says to you, do it. Now there were 6 stone water pots set there for the Jewish custom of purification, containing 20 or 30 gallons each, meaning they're different sizes. You know, different sizes. That's a lot of gallons for a container. Okay. And they have to fill them. They have to fill the water, the jug, the big clay pot. They're stone, big stone pots. Now, they were for purification, containing 20 or 30 gallons each. Jesus said to them, fill the water pots with water. So they filled them up to the brim. Now, you can figure that out. There's 6 stones, you know, some of them taking 30 gallons. They got to haul that water and fill them, and then he does something with them. But so we think about that. The first thing, you know, I want you to think about this miracle, because each miracle is different. Some miracles, he changes something into something, right? Or he multiplies. The fish and the loaves, he multiplies it. Same with the oil, The oil just kept coming out of the little jar. You have a little jar, it contains more oil than these. And they fill all the jars in the whole town with, people come and she sells the oil to them. And her little jar just keeps pouring out oil. That's a different kind of miracle than here. Here, first they have to go get the water. They don't have the water in the pots. They're not going to move the pots. They've got to take smaller vessels to the well, take water from the well and bring it back and fill the pots, these stone jars. Stone jars aren't moving anywhere. So they're going back and forth until they fill them up, and which they do. And then he changes the content of the water to wine, and it's a better wine than what they had brought earlier. So this miracle has some really interesting aspects to it. First it requires the obedience of the servants, and I'm just think about that. There's only one person that believes he's going to do anything, and that's his mom. They are obeying because they were told to. They probably were even making comments back and forth from the well. I don't know if this is going to work. What's he going to do with it? Is he going to deceive the people? How's he going to do that? But maybe he has some secret potion he can put in the water. I don't know, but maybe the people are too drunk to know the difference. I don't know what they're thinking, but I guarantee you they're thinking it, and more. They're not all, oh, he's going to turn water into wine. No, they have no clue what he's going to do. The only one that has any idea he's going to do anything is Mary. Okay? And so she tells them whatever he wants. Think about it. She knows her son. She doesn't know what he's going to do, but she knows he's going to do something. And it'll be spectacular. And so she goes through, and these guys, they fill the water pots, so they're filled to the brim. He said, I want them full. And then he said, now draw some out and take it to the head waiter. Now he doesn't give them, they don't drink it. They may have drink. Sometimes different movies show different ways they do it. But he says, take it to the head waiter. And so they take it out, take it to the head waiter, and he's amazed. Draw some out. So they took it to him, and when the head waiter tasted the water, which had become wine, and did not know where it came from, but the servants who have drawn the water out knew, and the head waiter called the bridegroom. He said to him, every man serves the good wine first, when the people have drunk freely. Then he serves the poor wine, but you have kept the good wine until now. Now, first of all, that probably didn't happen the way they're interpreting it. They probably did get the good wine first, but they drank all of it and everything else, and they just were short. And they already drunk the wine. Even the best wine they had, they've already drunk it. But the wine that Jesus makes is better than anything they've had to the dinner so far. So, and Jesus is not, so when I was deeply involved in the Jesus people, the Pentecostal Jesus people in this area, I really was struggling with the question of miracles, okay? I'd been to lots of healing services which were mostly made up, okay? I sat there, I watched the people go forward and come back and sit down. I was doing music, and I would go with these preachers, and some very well-known preachers in the area, and we traveled, Echo's brother Philip and I traveled around and did music for them, and we did a lot of stuff for them. But I wanted to understand miracles, how they work, because I saw a lot of miracles, but I saw a lot of not so miraculous miracles. Okay, a lot of healings that weren't really healings, but people don't stand up and shout because the effectiveness of the miracle is always connected with faith, people's faith. Now, I point this out because this miracle here, there's only one person that believes anything's going to happen, and that's Mary. The rest of the people are totally surprised. And I bet you anything, if you were walking with those servants, filling those jars with water, when they had a lot of stuff to do, a lot of people to take care of, cleaning off the old cups, picking up stuff, it's a big meal. And they're the servants of the wedding servants, and they're busy, and they're going to talk, and they're going to say stuff. I bet none of them believed he was going to turn this water into wine. None of them. So what is the connection between the miracles and faith? It's very, very small. Okay? Jesus pretty much does what he wants. But, and when he wants. And he does respond to faith, but it's more, and that's why, other than this turning water into wine, I don't think he did any other miracles in Nazareth, in Galilee. Okay, he went up to Tyre and healed a servant in Tyre, which is a little farther north of Galilee. But then he went back down to Capernaum after that. They went back down to the sea. And so, this, he says, this beginning of his signs Jesus did at Cana of Galilee and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. Now that impressed them, but he didn't do it because they believed. He did it to help them believe. So God doesn't do miracles because we are convinced that he's going to do a miracle. Because he used a certain terminology, because he did it this way, because we all had enough faith. And in this case, he's doing it so that they will end up believing. Okay? He's not doing it because anyone believes. And a lot of times, like when, when he raised Lazarus from the dead, we'll look at that later, but, he commands him to come out. And then he says, I'm not doing this because God needs my command. Doesn't he? You remember that? He says, I'm doing this for you guys so you know what I'm doing. So you understand. And so these people that are watching here, because there were Pharisees and Sadducees watching what he was doing at Lazarus' raising. And he speaks to his Father so they know what he's doing. But it has nothing to do with the miracle. You understand that? Has absolutely no impact on whether God responds to him or not. Has nothing. You saw that man with the withered hand. He commands him to stand up and stretch out his arm. Nobody believed. The man didn't believe that was going to happen. None of the Pharisees that were watching him believed that was going to happen. They just wanted to catch him doing something that they thought was illegal. And he looks at them, and the reason he heals the guy is to embarrass them. That's the reason. Okay? In my analysis of miracles, there is no single reason that Jesus does miracles. It's not faith. There's no real faith here in what he's doing. All the people in the wedding, the family, the servants, everybody that's connected with the wedding, nobody has a clue what he's going to do. Not a clue. Except his mom. And he goes deep into it right away. I mean, he connects this to the cross right away. First thing he says, it's not my hour. So why should I produce wine when it's not my hour? Okay? And I think, So what's the story here? It is not that Jesus does miracles. It's that he provides life for the world. And I think, we just turn one page back, and in him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overpower it, did not overcome it. So he is the true light, which coming into the world enlightens every man. He was the world in the world, and the world was made through him. Now, as many as receive him, to them he gave the right, the power. He gives the power to become children of God. And just one page, he's got, why should I provide wine to these people? Because my hour is not here. But then he does it anyway. He does it anyway, right? And not to make his mom believe. She already knows he's going to do something like that. But his disciples, this is the first time, and they watch that. And this is the beginning of his signs Jesus did in Canaan and manifested his glory. Also a reference to the last day. So he connects this. He connects at the beginning of this pericope and at the end with the cross. And he is showing at the very beginning that he came to provide a life for men. And those who believe in it will have life, will have the life of the world, and they will be connected to not just the living the life here, but to his glory at the end. And his disciples believe in him because of that, and because he manifests his glory. Now, I've said this before. Glory, it can be taken two ways. It can be the effervescence. It can be the shining. It can be the manifestation of heaven through Jesus. But also the glory is his humbling himself to become one of us. And like I said, the best essay on that is by C.S. Lewis in The Weight of Glory. The glory is Jesus delights in mankind. I was listening to a preacher, and I probably I've never heard anybody other than myself really talk about this. I was listening to a lot of black preaching on getting pushed up in the media because of what's going on and that. And this black pastor was preaching a sermon this week. I was listening to him. He's saying, we are made a little less than angels, but they always say yes, sir, and no, sir, to me. Now, he wasn't pushing himself. He was trying to make a point that in Christ, we are greater than angels. You think about that. We are greater than angels. And on a metaphysical plane, and I just solved this in my own head recently because I found some passages that say this. We are isangelos. That's our description by Jesus is isangelos. You know what that means? Isa means is. It means equal like you do in a math equation. And angelos, of course, is angel. So, and that is a name that Jesus calls the children of God, isangelos. They're equal to angels. But when you look at the actual status, the legal status we have in heaven, it's higher than theirs. We're not metaphysically higher than them. We will become equal to angels. That's why we don't do, there's no, the Mormon idea and the Muslim idea that we become you know, we get families and that heaven's all about sex. No, it's not. It has nothing to do with heaven. And you girls will be still, as far as I believe anyway, we have gender in heaven, but we don't have, it's not a procreation type of gender. There's no kind of relationship. I know that because in the book of Revelation, it talks about the female angels with wings that fly and do things, okay? So maybe you're the only ones with wings. I don't know what it is, but he manifests his glory in this, and in that he came purposefully on the very first day, very first miracle, talk about his life, his death, his resurrection, and his manifesting his pleasure in being with us, which is really what it is, which is what Yahweh means. That's why Matthew says it out loud. He said, "You shall call his name Jesus, for he shall be with us, you know, and he will save us from our sins." And so I think there's a lot more to this miracle than just blessing the marriages. I didn't even talk about marriages, but so, Father, I just thank you for your word to us, and continue to bless and heal and bring life and pour out the wine into our hearts so we can manifest your glory here in our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, if you want to